Welcome to Masters Live, where we explore the stories behind engineering innovation. Today we're joined by Patrick Marcus, CEO of Marcus Engineering, a longtime design partner of ours and a serial Microchip Masters attendee. Patrick, thank you very much for joining us.
Glad to be here.
We're talking to him and his team's experience at Masters, but before we dive into it, let's check in with Grace to see what sorts of demos she's finding.
Thanks, guys. So we saw your comments about wanting to learn more about human interface. So today I'm with the worldwide function group leader, Durant Lewis, and I'll be asking him questions. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Grace. Can't wait to see what else you find.
Thank you, Patrick, for taking the time to
Certainly.
meet with us today. We have done live streams in the past, and you're always great to talk with. So to start off, tell us more about yourself and what your company does.
Yeah, so I'm the president of Marcus Engineering. We're an electronics engineering consultancy in Tucson, Arizona. So we're just down the street from you guys in Phoenix. But at our offices in Tucson, we do a lot of end-to-end product development in the electronics space, primarily focusing on regulated product development. So that would be medical devices, military, aerospace, and automotive applications.
Nice. Yeah, I know that your team comes to Masters every single year,
Yeah.
and it's growing. Every single year you bring more and more people. How do you prepare them for this experience?
It's actually a lot of fun. As you know, engineers are often introverts, and one of the challenges is getting them to open up and want to talk to people and interact with people. It can be scary, especially when you're early career. So we actually sit down in the conference room and we gamify a little bit. We set up some mini goals. We offer some prizes like gift cards for the people who come back with the most leads and the most new relationships. But they have to be ones that they're actually going to follow up with. You can't just go and collect 100 business cards.
Nice.
So on that same sort of topic, were there any sort of standout moments either from this Masters or Masters in the past?
You know, over the years, I really appreciate that I've been able to build relationships not only with the technical teams and the field applications engineers, but also with a lot of the executive team as well. I've actually become friends with Rich Simonsick over the years, and last night I was able to sit down with him and just talk about our families and how our company's doing and get a little bit of insight into what Microchip's been working on. And it's comforting to be able to have that kind of access all throughout the organization.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Based on your experience, has there been a shift in mindset yourself and your team after attending other events in the past?
I think so. I think that when we come back from Masters, we're excited to have built or rebuilt relationships. Our younger engineers are always just tickled to come back with some dev boards from the Masters conference and to look at some of the new technologies. In fact, it's sometimes kind of hard to get them to work on their projects instead of playing with some of the new stuff that Microchip is offering.
That'll happen. All right, so you're also a design partner. Do you mind walking us through a little bit of what that means and how does that impact Microchip?
Yeah, so being a design partner is a somewhat prestigious process of becoming trusted and demonstrating design competence. Obviously, Microchip wants to refer their customers to design entities like ours that are qualified, will actually deliver and do a good job, making Microchip look good and making sure that their customers succeed. So once you become a design partner, there's a lot of opportunities to engage with Microchip. On the simpler side of things, there's discounts for design tools, there's easier access to technical support as a design partner, there's discounts on attending the Masters Conference, which is super for us.
Nice.
It allows us to bring our entire engineering team here. In fact, this year we've got, I think, 12 or 13 people attending from our company, and so that subsidization is really special to us and we really appreciate it. But it allows us to work more closely and more intimately with Microchip while also supporting them in their product lines.
Absolutely. So from your perspective, what makes a design partnership successful?
I think it's really a two-way effort of relationship building. I think the biggest value of being a design partner and also attending the Masters Conference is building relationships and following up on those relationships throughout the year. I wouldn't have this relationship with your team doing live streams like this if I had not been making an effort to reach out look for opportunities to help, and that help is bi-directional. We get referrals from Microchip, we get opportunities to help drive some of the direction of Microchip based upon engineering needs, and we also get help when we need it, which is really wonderful.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, Patrick, for taking the time to listen to your approach and your team's approach.
Yeah, thanks for having me, appreciate it.
All right, thanks for joining us again, Patrick. It's always a pleasure, but let's check back in with Grace to see what's going on the show floor.
Thanks, guys. All right, so I introduced Durant Lewis, the Worldwide Function Group Leader of Human Interface. So Durant, what do you do at Microchip?
Well, I'm basically a glorified FAE, but as a Worldwide Function Group Leader, it's my job to coordinate training across all the geographic areas. So I do training with the US and Europe, and then turn around and do it with Greater China and Asia. And I work on that curriculum for training, and our really basic job is to make sure that we get the technology in front of our field application engineers, so that they can continue to do a great job with the customers. And then we also work on getting the technology that we need to continue to move forward, and by working with our business units to make sure that we're developing that.
That's really cool. So what do we have here?
Well, this is our MaxTouch demo, and this is indicative of where we think automotive design will eventually go. It's a foldable screen, so the angle is actually adjustable. Some pretty high-tech glass that allows you to fold that. And we've got a volume control kind of hidden in the fold there, and you can do that. But the main thing about this is we've got something called a knob on display. And this allows a user to make an adjustment without taking their hands off the steering wheel. And right now, it's really important that drivers not be distracted, that they keep their eyes on the road. And there's certain adjustments that you're always making in an automobile, like maybe volume control, changing a radio station, fan speed or temperature. And you don't want to have to dig through 3 layers of menus, to be able to get to it. So what you can do is just reach down intuitively and grab this and move it. And the detents are coming from the knob, itself. And we capture every click, as it goes around. So it's really accurate. And then what some automakers have done, rather than put like 3 or 4, knobs for the major functions, they'll just use one, and you'll be able to click through it to find the function that you need, and just put a small little logo on the dash that'll change, for like fan speed, radio, volume, something like that. So you can keep from having to move your eyes off the road to make a really common adjustment that people make all the time. This is designed with a little keep out area so that, as your fingers go around, but the rest of it is kind of standard touchscreen, And then you can add this, stop that. This is also, actually the knob actually floats on top of a standard touchscreen, so there isn't really anything special as far as the construction. There is a little bit of special firmware to capture the target and implement a keep out zone, but other than that, it works on a standard touchscreen.
That's really cool. So I've heard you have some water touch demos. Can we look at those?
We do seem to be a little bit obsessed with water on this master. So we'll start with just a basic water tolerant. Here, this is this is basic buttons, wheels, and sliders. But that's a really common interface. And these interfaces have to work whether it's rain, whether there's humidity, where there's moisture. We have a little bit of that south. I know you don't have any of that here out in Arizona, but it actually is a common thing. And so CapTouch works great when it's dry, but when it's wet, a lot of times it can have issues. And you can see this actually still works. So we use our driven shield technology kind of to make sure that we aren't having issues with this when
it pools?
Yeah, when a puddle is pulling over and could actually cause something to go deaf. And then we'll also use it to drive the adjacent signal so that, again, it doesn't pull over into the other key and cause the other key to happen. So these things work fairly well, and it helps us with present a water-tolerant interface to the customer. One of our engineers in Italy, his name's Maurizio Farminati, he actually did the development of this. This is a digital sensing, digital level sensing type system. And I put it in a fishbowl and then put it inside an aquarium. And a common application for this is something like like a coffee maker, you know, where you want a warning if the water carafe is kind of getting a little low or something like that. See, right now it's draining down. It's got an upper sensor which is on the processor board, and then a lower sensor. And when it goes past down the lower sensor, it'll pick that up and it'll turn the pump on and it'll fill it back up. And then when it hits the high sensor, it'll just simply turn off. Now, one of the neat things about this is it doesn't have to be particularly water. We can also sense some types of solids, like things like rice, grains, and also even like wood chips. You know, we can figure that out. And it's useful for rice cookers because if you put too much rice in there, it can blow out the top, and things like that, and the proper level. So in a second, it'll turn back on. There we go, and it'll just fill it back up, and it just keeps cycling, in and out. So, and this is something that we've worked on. It's got a unique architecture in that one of the problems with doing a sensor like this is if you grab the carafe or someone touches the unit, then you're introducing a ground to the whole system, and that can cause the signals to shift. We actually use 2 ADCs to null that out, and it's ran in a couple of PIC microprocessors, and it was really a very clever design. It's patented, and it's only exclusively available through Microchip. If that's something that you're interested in, just talk to your local salesperson. So.
That's really cool. Can I ask you a question, Durant? What is your favorite part about being here at Masters?
Well, it's interacting, with the customers. A lot of times you'll go to a trade show or a technical training like this to learn, and you definitely can do that. But the other part of it is the connections that you make. And I can answer questions and guide people into a correct direction that it's really kind of hard to do, via email or via phone or a WebEx conference, or anything like that. We can really answer detailed questions and really help customers out, because in the end of the day, our job is to help customers and make their job easier. We just use our technology as kind of a little bit of a conduit and sell a few microprocessors along the way. But our job really is to serve our customers.
That's really cool. Well, thank you for your time today, Durant. All right, that's human interface. If you have any other questions, please drop them in the comments. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Grace. That wraps up the last live stream of the day. So feel free to stay tuned tomorrow morning for a recap of tonight's events for Innovation Night and Rich Simon 6 keynote.
All right, this has been Masters Live. Thank you very much.